So I always tell people I have no control over what I fall in love with when it comes to modeling. No matter how hard it is to build or whatever. I mean, it's just like, well, that is a must do. So I'm pleased to say that I did get merit award on these two structures I'm going to talk about. And there's JK Tower I heard about for years, and then finally I saw it and realized what it was, and I'm like, man, I got to model that. And so um, we've got JK Tower and then the electronic version of JK Tower. And then both of them have been raised now. So all I've got left is these models that's left. So anyway, uh, the Virginian Railway ran for 50 years, and you can see the sign there is at the Virginian Depot in Roanoke, Virginia, where I was born. And they tore down a power plant, and they didn't allow anybody to come in and rescue this logo in concrete, but they went in anyway, and probably in the dark of night, and they found all of it but the last little bit of that in. So they put that in the parking lot of the Virginian Depot, where it's a place for shops. It's been restored. So anyway, there's a great deal of love for this railroad. So I wanted to make these models. Well, how does this slide advance now? It's not working with the down arrows.
Yeah, you can either
There
use,
we go.
there you go.
I
Perfect.
clicked on it and that did it.
Yeah.
So the Virginian came in 1909, same year as the 100-year anniversary of Abraham Lincoln. So that's when they started the wheat pennies. And it turns out that they also merged with the N&W when they changed the penny again. So it's crazy. Um, and then in 82 is when they changed the penny a couple of times, and that was when the N&W merged with the Southern. The two brothers um, made the deal basically on a handshake. Uh, I forget their names now, but anyway, it's not important. So one way you can tell the difference in some of the 82 pennies is to buy a scale, but it's also nice for weighing railroad cars and mixing epoxies and so forth. So this was a scale you could get on Amazon. It's not the one that I use, but I use one just for that reason. So what is scratch built? NMRA definition, 90% non-commercial parts. And you can use basic shapes like I-beam sheets and so forth. Anything you create on your own is considered scratch built. I thought maybe it might be by a volume percent of parts or weight percent, but it's not. It's by piece count. So sometimes you may have to stack the deck if you got too many commercial parts. So So here are the two buildings we're talking about. This is Williamson Road, in going to the toward the upper right. Walnut Avenue is on the bridge going across there. To the far left is one of the original Virginian buildings, a shop or car shop or something. It's being used now, I think, for Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper's been rated as the number one beverage in Roanoke, Virginia for the last 60 years. So something to be known for. So you can see the original JK Tower up in the top center in the crossing there. It was monitoring that crossing as well as what comes into the yard. I mentioned the Virginian Depot a few minutes ago. It's up and to the right off screen. And then the electronic building is right just below it on the picture. I gathered this from Google Earth. And so these are the two buildings that I'm going to be talking about, scratch building. The Virginian is going, the yard is Virginian, and then the Norfolk and Western is going just almost vertically as it crosses those diamonds there. That's the that's the route that comes down by the house that I grew up in. It's called the Winston-Salem Division on its way to North Carolina. Weaves and turns around. So I mentioned that it was these buildings were replaced by a third electronic version. It's not anywhere near as much personality in that building, so I'm not going to bother with it. So this is the street version of Google Earth. You can see JK Tower in the very back there, the long red Virginia building to its left or right, whichever. And then the silver building to the right is the other electronic version of that does the same job via radio. Then this is another view. That's Walnut Avenue Bridge. And right up at the very top, you can see a hole, and there's five or six of those going across. And this was the end of the electrification from West Virginia down into Roanoke, and then they put steam locomotives on and continued on. One of the neat parts underneath that bridge is you can still see the soot from the steam locomotives. Um, Hopefully, they'll never clean that off because it's really kind of neat to see that up under there for so many years. So here we go. You can see the finished product. I was able to build that. Um, Basically, they made plans. There were plans in the Historical Society, the Virginian N&W Historical Society, and they when they put those plans up, I said, "Well, I got to go. You know, I don't have any choice at this point. I got to build this building." So it's a reasonable facsimile, as they say, and you can see it from the other perspective. Um, I it is a stucco building, so I used textured paint and then painted it. I think I used white textured paint, um, but it's I didn't do some of the things that are there. You can see, um, and I did put ballast around it just to hide some of the where it meets the platform that I put it on. So here are the plans. Some of it's very busy, some of it's not so much, but you can see the outer shell, and then the front window, I think, has upper and lower opening windows, and I did not put those in. I put the bars in, but I didn't simulate anything with the opening of the windows. And then you can see the other side. You can see the trusses, and I don't have all those trusses, but I have trusses, so we'll talk about that. So this really busy area here, you can see the cross section or the floor plan, and it's really wide, as you can see in the model itself. In the top part, this is the control room. This is where it has all the windows, so you can see the trains coming in. And there was down in this window here, there was a big lighted, I would say something similar to the light bulbs of a eat here kind of a sign. I've talked to people who worked in this tower, but they didn't remember what that was all about. But that tells the train what track they're going to go in on. And so that was kind of a neat thing. And then coming out of this room, there's a door and there's stairs down, and there is a restroom here of such. It's really no more than a stall. There's not much for privacy there. It does have a stall wall, and I can show you that in the model, but a toilet and a sink, and that's all we're talking about here. And basically, it was there weren't any women around anyway, so this was stopped being used somewhere in '60s, I think, and then they went to well, maybe a little later than that. But anyhow, back here is a battery room, and that I presume is for signals and so forth like that. But I didn't model anything in there. There's no detail as to what's there. And then there's a door on either side and several of the windows. Um, I did not get this square with the the two when I joined them. I made these two separate and then joined them for whatever reason. They didn't come out square. It's not terribly far off, but it was kind of funny when I realized it after the judging, and they didn't seem to notice it or see it or make a comment about it or anything. Well, it's kind of interesting. There was a boiler in here run by coal, obviously, because the N&W was all about coal. The Virginian was all about coal, but I didn't put that detail in there, although the chimney does go all the way to the floor. So here's the other sheet, and you can see the way the roof is. It's I forget what that's called, but a hip roof. Yeah, it's a hip roof on all the places here. Can y'all see the pointer?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, door is actually inside um, the building. That's the door you come from the large, wide room to the narrow area. It looks like it's on the outside of the building, but it's not. Um, and then this is the way it's situated in the tracks. And it's funny because it replaced Walnut Tower, which sat almost in the same place, but it didn't tear the tower down before they built this. So I don't know how they did two things at once. They say that the tower was there until this one was built. I don't see how because they overlap footprints. Um, it took a couple of years for me to understand the plans and then to say, well, what's good enough? What do I want to replicate? What do I want to, just make the illusion that it's there? So I had to interpret this as a non-architect. So this is a close-up of the busy area. Huh, I missed that door. Maybe I don't remember. But anyway, how did they get in the battery room?
No,
Well, anyway,
that's the door that was showing through that other drawing you
that
showed.
might be. You're
Yeah.
right. Well, the that door is pretty high up. The floor in the big room is wider or taller. It's higher up. There's a stair going up to it. So
All
I think
right.
that's
Yeah.
the so anyway, I
And
think
so
I put that door in.
if the
I
boiler
brought the
flooded,
I'm sorry.
it might be to oh no, it wouldn't be higher. Never mind. I was thinking it might be to protect the boiler from flooding the battery room, but
Yeah,
The steps are here kind of in the middle
right.
where they've got one, two, three, four steps going up to the door that joins the two parts of the building together.
oh yeah.
Yes,
You see the steps there?
right. So here's the door coming in, and then you go up the
Mhm.
steps and go through this other door. I'm going to have to look at the model to see if I actually put that door in. I don't remember whether I did or not. So anyway, there's a few radiators around, and there's desks that I don't have. I did make the lockers um, and put them here, and then you can see where the chimney is. But the chimney's twice as wide when you get on up into the attic and then the coming out. So it's kind of small here, and here's the boiler, and there's a coal bin that I didn't put in. The other thing I want you to be aware of is you've seen my window frames in these corners. Those were actually put in after I had it judged. So it's really crazy that I got a merit award without these window frames. Now, these back here were commercial, but I had to solder the brass together to make these for the windows. So we'll see those a little bit more. But it's unbelievable that I got the 90 points that I got without the window frames in in there.
Mhm.
So another thing that was funny is I'm supposed to be working on this building, and I decided to open up a power plant, um, a Walters power plant. And I'm like, are you crazy? You got to be working on this one. Well, in that power plant is where I found the doors for this building. So yeah, okay, it's fine. So anyway, I had to substitute the windows, but fortunately, I had 9 pane windows from I forget who the manufacturers, SS Limited or somebody like that. Anyway, so I found out the walls were cinder block. So I wanted to make them, 90 degrees, but that's 90 thousandths is awful hard to make a 90-degree angle by making it 45 degrees on a side. So I figured out that if I just put and this adds to the number of scratch built pieces. So I figured out that if I put the 3 layers there and then, cut them out for the windows and so forth, I could put this together, get the 90-degree angle, get the cinder blocks, the 9-inch cinder blocks that I wanted, and then could just, fill in with putty or whatever, any kind of gaps that were there. So I was really pleased that this lightning bolt struck me so I could, oh, well, that makes it easy. So anyway, so I made my roof joists and I made them so they overhang. Um, so there's in the eave, there's, boards that go around the whole building. And I needed something to hook those to. So this actually sets down over the building in every direction, sets down over the ceiling that's also there inside the rooms. And then I have a place that I can glue uh my eaves to. And it just blew me away that I was able to do this. It was kind of tedious cutting these out, but then you cut and file all the time anyway. So, and you can see what I managed to do with the roof joists. So they're not put in like the actual building, but they support the roof, and every other one is wide enough to go and glue the boards to. So you can see, and I'll show you the boards here in just a second, but you can see all the way around. I've got the eave, and then the flat area under here is the ceiling. So it's a scribed wood ceiling according to the drawing, and I reproduced that best I could. So then when I put the roof on here, it all just settles right down in. So here you can see the joists going out over the ceiling, and then they're got the boards there, and I think that's scribe siding or something. I don't think I scribed the lines myself, but I just cut them so that they can fit. They're not individual boards, but they give that illusion. So this is the ceiling that's also scribed in there. There's no lights in the building. I didn't get that far. So here you can see the bathroom. Oh, look, there's a door going to the battery room. So relieved. Um, anyway, um, 9 pane windows. That was what's in according to the plan. Um, you can see the cinder block wall. I didn't realize until very long into this project that it doesn't have finish on the inside of the cinder block. They didn't stucco the inside. So I had the building all built and then I had to wallpaper. I made in PowerPoint, I made that brick pattern and then printed it out, and it gave the illusion pretty well. The lines are dots, but that's because I blew it up so much and printed it out. The sink, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if the glue got into it or did something to it. But you can see there's not much privacy in that bathroom. And I didn't realize what a political statement I was making when I glued the seat in the up position. It wouldn't fit the other way. I don't know why. The kit wasn't that great for the toilet. So anyway, it's a fairly modern toilet. I didn't do what I think was the tank way up high and all of that sort of thing. But you can see down at the bottom, you can see the steps that I created going into the big control room. So here's the big control room. You can see the locker. You can see the window frames. Um, magnified like that, they look terrible, but when you get them at the reasonable distance, they don't look too bad. These are the radiators, I think, from SS Limited or whoever. And then this floor, I've got a bathroom in my basement, and one day I was pondering, and you do that while you're sitting there, and I'm like, where am I going to get a linoleum floor? And I looked around, and I'm like, well, there's one. I bet I can make that look like 1940s.
Hmm.
So I took a picture that didn't have glare, and it took a lot of effort to take that picture without any kind of glare, a flash or a light or reflected light or anything. It just wouldn't work out. So I managed to create it and put it together, little squares. And then when I printed it out, it came out yellow. And I'm like, what on this earth? I don't have a yellow floor in my basement. And I was talking to my father-in-law who sold janitorial supplies for a lot of years. And he said, well, yeah, that's number one carnauba wax. And I'm like, so a building entirely um, uh, taken care of by men. Yeah, it's going to have wax buildup. So I accepted my yellow floor.
All right.
Here's the chimney. Um, so it it's got holes in it according to the prototype, and then I took a picture from the side, and maybe it did look that terrible. The bricks are kind of at not sitting quite exactly like they're supposed to, but anyway, I was able to weather it some and put the black around there and so forth. Um, it does, the chimney does actually go on down into the building. Um, I I don't, I'll have to look at it. So anyway, so I did get Merit Award. I did get the Best in Show. It's a at the Schaumburg Midwest Region Convention. And so I did that without having the window frames in the big room. I installed the shingles the morning I left for Schaumburg.
Nice.
And what's pretty funny is I had the building, but I left the suitcase at home. And there was a funeral at church, and they needed me to go to the store and get some green beans for the lunch afterwards. And if I hadn't had to do all of that, I would have been halfway to Schaumburg before I realized I didn't have my suitcase. So all these things just go right into this. You get the important stuff, but you got to have clothes too. So as I say, they did not notice the angle of that big room to the back section, and neither did I. And David Pop was the keynote speaker for the banquet that year. And when I got my merit award, he was standing there, and I looked at him and I said, I blame you for this. So anyway, I was really grateful for that. So can I answer any questions before we go to the other building?
Now, so you took all those pictures. Did you take those before you put the roofs on, or are they removable so people can see that detail?
Oh, no, the roof is permanent. I glued it on, and I took the pictures of the joists or the trusses and so forth before I
But
put the.
like all the tile detail and the cinder block detail, the only way to see that is in the pictures you took?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. The roof is removable, but not the whole thing comes off and you can see
Right.
down inside of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that whole
Yeah,
shape
it's
that kind of
pretty
hangs
pretty
over.
rigid and pretty sturdy. I don't I
Good.
hand it to people and say, take it off if you want to. You're not going to hurt it.
Yeah.
You might be able to stomp on it and not do anything to it. It's pretty stout.
Yeah.
But yes, the area supporting the shingles and all that is glued on, but then you can take the roof off and see down
Okay.
inside there. You're right.
Good.
So
Yeah, that's great. It looks great.
thank you. So um first thing I want you to notice is that there's no trespassing sign on that center beam. I think they put that on later in my honor. I had sense enough never to climb those steps and walk around on it, but I was measuring and doing all kinds of things to this building. So we'll talk about the antenna, we'll talk about the railings, the six vertical H beams, the concrete feet, And that angle cross bracing, the only thing I could use was 1/16 of an inch. It's too big. There was only like 3 inch on a side on those, but they are arranged in the same manner that the building is. Um, I think there's 12 steps or 13, I don't know. But I couldn't build this until I found the kit for the fencing, and it had those three uh tubes for the handrails. And I thought I had to do more um, compromising because I was not going to change the spacing on those and piece it together. I used as much as I could. Um, but I did have a compromise, and I didn't realize it until I was looking at this and preparing for this. The stair handrails, my model has two going up the stairs, and you can see this has only one. And there was just nothing I was going to do about that. Um, so we got the walkways that are also these handrails are not scratch built. They are commercial from Tichy, I think. And the walkway is clear. I'm sorry, not clear, see-through ribbing, and I was able to use their walkways for that too. Um, I I'll talk about how I made the ribs, and I had to put door vents on, and also the conduits coming out of the bottom there. One of the things that they complained about when they were judging it is I've got this on a flat piece of styrene, and they said the the conduits don't come, they don't reach the ground. I'm like, that's not the ground, that's the base. But anyway, so you can see the no trespassing sign. This actually I pulled out from Google Earth. It's a variation of what I showed you at the very beginning, and you can see the weathering and so forth that's on here. I'm It's so unfortunate that when I got my building built, I wasn't able to, it was already gone by the time I wanted to take a picture, or I could get back to Virginia to take a picture of it with the building like I did with JK there in the background. So, oh well, I know it works.
Yeah.
Pretty close. So Central Valley Fencing, you can see the triple pipes there, and I was just so excited when I saw that in the Walthers catalog. I said, "Well, we got to do it now." So, and then you can see the open grate platform with handrails, but those handrails wouldn't work. There's also a really deep support that's under that um, those those things. And I think maybe they're supposed to be on top of a boxcar or something, or a building of some other type. And I had to cut those and file them down. I mean, I spent with my hands, running back and forth on a big mill file just like this, just eating it down to the very, very minimum. And it's like, I filed my fingernails and did everything else too while that was happening.
Right.
So fortunately, I could watch TV while I did it, so being productive. So anyway, um, and then I glued them on with super glue, and I've built this thing twice. I glued them on with super glue, and then I sprayed it with silver paint, and that showed the glue globs that I had, and in fact, it gave me the nickname in my local division, glue globs, with a couple of my dearest friends, former dearest friends. No, just kidding about that. But yeah, I had to take it all the way down to the vertical posts and come bring it up again. So here's one version of the model. It might be the first version, and I weathered the concrete supports there, and as you can see, the angle braces do go down into the support. They actually are in. I I would love to have seen this before they filled it in, because I'm pretty sure that those angle braces go into the concrete, and the concrete may be 6 feet deep or something. That's crazy how sturdy this building must have been. But you can see that the paint did not do what I wanted it to do, and an airbrush is not my friend a lot of times. The one thing I am grateful for is the fact that these two handrails don't meet either in this or in the prototype. I didn't have to join those up, and I will always be grateful for that, because
Well, if
that would
you
have
had
been.
joined them up, that would not be prototypical. So
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. So I was grateful that they built this thing with a modeler in mind.
Right.
Um, so anyway, and this is the other side. Um, there's a yellow sign that's supposed to be on here, and I've since printed it out. I got to decide whether I'm going to put it on there. It's got all kinds of warnings and so forth. Here's the antenna. We'll talk about how that was created. So in order to get the number of scratch built pieces, get more, weighted advantage for the scratch built, this building has got pieces of cut and precisely filed styrene sheet in it all the way to the top. I didn't bother to put the PLCs or whatever circuitries in there. I filled it full. So anybody wants to say, well, you don't have enough scratch built pieces here. I said, yeah, but that building is full. And there's ribs across the bottom of the floor. We'll see a little later. And the way I did those was just butting up 16th, that 16th of inch cross bracing. I used the same stuff, just butt those up. It looks pretty close to the spacing of the ribs under there. And I don't know why there's such a gap here. Uh, I redid the building and it's setting down where it's supposed to be now. I don't like the weathering on the concrete. It looks like a mud fence. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that, if anything. Um, so a couple of different antennas over the years. I chose the one before this one. So let me tell you about these ribs. They're different spacing. This is the prototype, and they're different spacing. And I used a nail that I had sharpened in my drill press, and used an XY table, and I'll show you one of those if you don't happen to know what that is. But yeah, I could move the spacing, the nail over, and then drag it up and down on that to create a groove, which I then put a small piece of styrene strip in there. And it didn't look too bad, but it did hold it long enough for the glue to dry and so forth. And then when I painted it, it it rippled, it coved these. It looked like the pressed, like they pressed the rib into the sheet metal before they did it, like they rolled it. And I've never had better luck in my life. It really made it look like that sheet metal was formed when the paint, accumulated and what I call coved it filled in right beside the ribs and did a great job. And I've never been as lucky in my life. So I was grateful for that. Other things that you can see here at the bottom, you can see the ribs, number one, but also these are C channels. I think I used 100 thousandths, which is the same as the 100 thousandths H beam. And you can see this is an angle supporting it it's welded on there. And then some of the other details there we may see coming up. So here's an XY table. Most of them are 50 thousandths per revolution, so it'll move that far. All you do is get it beyond where you want it to be and then start turning it in the direction. That takes the slack out. And then every time you can turn it for and you don't want to overshoot because then you get slack in it as you go back the other way. So it takes a little practice, but it worked really well. I tried using an X-Acto knife tucked up into the drill press. It acted like a rudder. If it had any angle at all, it just went off to the side. So I finally figured I could cut the head off of a nail and file it to a point as the drill was spinning. So it made it's basically a scratch all, and so that worked. So here it says, um, and like that's basically what I just described. So here's the model with more or less the same perspective. You can see the ribs under there, which is the 16th of an inch styrene angle. Same as what the cross bracing is here. Um, what else? There's an X brace underneath the building. That's prototypical. Um, Here's me standing in it. And it's kind of funny when you drive to Virginia, try to do it around Christmas time. Sometimes the weather doesn't let you do it. This was a 55-degree day at the end of January when we were finally able to get together with my family at Christmas. So what did we do? We went train watching. So you can see the NS truck, Norfolk Southern truck back there. He never said a word to me, and I walked all around this thing with a tape measure and everything else, and it never seemed to faze him. So you can see one-to-one correspondence, and really, I thought the handrails on this end was, going to be the compromise. But you can see I've got four posts across there, just like the prototype. So the other thing we've got is this vent here, and that I was able to duplicate pretty faithfully. So this is it without me and without the NS truck. Um, I thought I was duplicating that concrete weathering, and it it doesn't suit me very much at all. But we can take another swing at it. It's one of those things where you can do it again if you need to. The way I made those concrete, those are actually plaster, and I is that true? They may be styrene tubes that I filled with something. I'm not sure exactly what. And the H beams are not down into them, if I recall correctly, but they are sitting on top of there. Here's the two antenna, and I chose the one on the left because this looks like, 16th of an inch half round. And when I had this judged at National in Indianapolis in 2016, they said, "Where's the wire? Where's the wire connecting this?" And I said, "You people are on a whole different level." But if I ever had to get it judged, I didn't put it on to get it judged in regional, but I thought about it for a long time and said, yeah, they're probably right about that. I should have that wire. It's a pretty good sized wire. So anyway, I glued these 16th inch half rounds to a staple. And then I used a bigger piece of brass rod, I think, and soldered it all together to it. It was a little tedious, but then I was able to glue. I made the staple into a U shape, and I was able to glue those two things together. I think with CA. So I don't have quite this much detail in this over here, but it doesn't look too bad. So here's the front with the stairs. Um, you can see again the weathered concrete isn't all that great, but I used some of the see-through decking material to make the steps, and I just put styrene with gaps in it up the inside of the C channel, and then just slid those into place and glued them into place. So, this rail comes on out here, and I duplicated that detail. This step is in the same level as the concrete, and this is a poor picture of the same thing in the model. So the handrail comes on out to away from the C channel, and I put the steps in. I got the same number of steps, I think. They don't look exactly like the steps, but then, we're really close at this point. So here's some more of the prototype pictures. You can see the the H beam here, and you can see and they're bolted together, and I didn't bother to put the bolt head there. Here's the model, more or less the same perspective, the angled support, and for welding and all that. We do have a few extra C channels here for support. I did put all that in there. I can't see it in that picture. I've since fixed this gap up here. I don't know where that came from, but here's the see-through floor, and a good detail view of the angled braces where this is welded to, and then the C channel going around it. So all of that looks pretty close to what's there. Then some more view of the underside bracing. Here's that vent on the non-stair end. I didn't put all of these bolt heads in either. We're still working on trying to figure out how to use nut, bolt, and washer castings and so forth. So here you can see the no trespassing sign. I think this is Google Earth also, but I was able to capture this picture um, just before they tore it down. And here's the warning, danger, high voltage, and whatever else. In this yard that goes by the depot there, they use a lot of remote control locomotives. So I think that's a lot of what this is all about. Plus throwing. I think they can remotely throw the switch machines. I know they can change the signals because I always watch for the green when they're getting ready to leave. Try to be there sometimes when they are getting ready to leave. Still to this day, I get excited when I see a white van. Oh boy, here we go, crew change. But the locomotives sit there and run all the time anyway, so you can't really go by that. This is poor. You get the detail of it, and this is more of my glue globs, maybe. Anyway, the floor doesn't look all that great coming out there. Maybe I'll take a file of that one of these days. But it looks somewhat like the prototype. It certainly gives an illusion of what we've got going here. So it did receive a merit award. I don't remember exactly how many points. I don't think it was quite 90. Like I say, I cut the styrene to fit to increase the count. Told you about the antenna wire. Stair rails didn't meet the horizontal rails, so that's good. Anyway, I don't like the way the weather concrete looks. So I'm deeply indebted to my wife, Fran. Some of the quotes of things that I've said to her over the years. I'll be in the basement. I need a drill press. Could you hold this end of the tape measure? And what do you mean we can't go down this road? So anyway, she was right too. It was very soft. I walked down there and it was too soft, and even though four-wheel drive. So N&W Historical Society, a Virginia boy can live in Illinois and still have access to Virginia pictures, etc. And the Virginian as well as the Norfolk and Western for being worth remembering.
Mm-hmm.
So Google Earth and Virginian Railway, Norfolk Southern are not arresting me on various occasions. There's my lovely wife, very supportive. I appreciate her so much every day. Evergreen scale models, where would I be without the styrene? So
That sounds like a good t-shirt.
so what can I answer for you? What questions would you have or comments? I'm going to give this again in the IVD Illinois Valley Division meeting. This was kind of a rehearsal, to be honest. So next Saturday, a week from Saturday, I'm going to give this again. So I have to have a handout. So if you got suggestions for that, that would be great too.
Do you know what year the tower was built, the platform tower?
No. The JK building, I think, was built in the early 40s, and it was a different model, but there were four of those in various parts of the Virginian. But it was raised in 2018, so I do know that. It was just about the time that my article for the Historical Society magazine got published about J.K. Tower, just about the time they tore it down. So timely.
Thanks.
Did I miss the part? Are you, as your ultimate goal to get the building or structure certificate towards an MMR, or are you an MMR now?
No, I'm not an MMR. I'm entirely working toward that. And these were two nice steps that I made with structures to get there. So I'm grateful for that. Got another one that was scratch built, but it didn't quite meet the merit award. So I'm going to work on that too. So yes,
Uh,
thank you. I
can,
really hope to get there someday.
can you review what's required for that certificate?
6 scratch built structures and 6 super detailed structures that are not necessarily scratch built. They can all be scratch built, but
So that's 12 structures?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? I'd like to tell you about concrete real quick.
Okay.
When you mix plaster up, put a little dark food coloring in it, like black. Just a little
Right.
bit, and that'll age it real nicely.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Mike, this is Dave Nelson. When I have something about a model that doesn't please me in terms of how I weathered it or painted or colored it, I'm a great believer in using a scratch brush to remove what I don't like. And if I was to if I was to remove the overly dark color on those concrete footings, I think I would use the scratch brush, but then I'd be tempted to use sort of a tan colored powdered pastel.
Yes.
Uh, if the surface is rough enough, those pastels really will stick to the material. If they're smooth and shiny like brand new styrene, you have to do something like a dull coat first. But um, uh, I know through bitter experience, because I constantly am having to try and improve disasters, and some disasters can't be improved. Um, some can be,
If you
and
improve a disaster, does that make it worse or better?
um, you just pray that it's as bad a disaster when you're done trying to improve it as it was when you began. Sometimes you actually can, um, and that actually works with globs too. In fact, I had a frugal modeler on using the scratch brush to remove my glue glob disasters, and if you use the metal scratch brush, you actually can get rid of them.
Yeah, that's cool.
But they're very convincing looking models.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your merit awards.
Thank you very much.
Now, Mike, I noticed you were very much wanting to emulate the prototype, but that is not part of the requirement, right?
Well, conformance, I think, is where they judge that. I
So
don't know how many points are available, but if you have plans or draw plans, or you have those plans, and then it looks like the prototype, I think there are points for that.
oh, okay, okay.
Scratch building is only 15 points,
Uh-huh.
which I think is a disaster. But
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Very informative, and good luck with your presentation on Saturday. We'll all be rooting for you.
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, and we're always happy to be a trial ground for these types of things. That's what we're here for, and it works out great. So a lot of people do that, and other people will come and make their presentation when they're done presenting it to someplace in order to get a recording of it. So always happy to oblige. We just enjoy having a variety of presenters and topics, and so thank you. Nice job.
Thank you.
We will meet again next week. We'll have the last week of March will be off. No, we won't be. Never mind. I'm coming back on Thursday. So yeah, we're actually good for the next 2 weeks, but we don't have presenters. So if anybody has a topic they want to present on, just let me know and we'll get you on the schedule. Otherwise, we get together even when we don't have a topic, and sometimes those are very interesting as well because we just start talking about whatever is on somebody's mind, and some of those make it onto the YouTube channel and some of them don't. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks again, Mike. Good luck on Saturday. And everybody enjoy your Thursday evening.
All right.
Take good
Bye.
care.
Have a good one,
Thanks,
everyone.
thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Bet.